Hello, everyone. Today's news focus begins with this image. This is, of course, an AI-generated picture, but it is not a parody, because the New York that emerges after today may very well turn this created image into a living reality. That is the New York City mayoral election. The city hailed as the capital of the world and regarded as the heart of global capitalism stands at what is likely the most critical crossroads in its history as a metropolis. Either continue to exist as a symbol of capitalism or become the first experimental field of communism in the United States. The direct embodiment of these two paths lies in the two candidates vying for the mayoral seat. One is former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, a traditional Democrat. The other is Zoran Mamdani, who calls himself a democratic socialist but whom Trump has labeled a communist lunatic. This campaign has long transcended the significance of an ordinary mayoral election in a major American metropolis. It has become the watershed, determining whether the heart of America will be occupied by communism. We all know the saying, fortresses are always breached from within. If New York falls to communist elements, this model will surely be replicated in other major cities. Where will the next one be? Perhaps Los Angeles, Chicago, or many more. If Mamdani wins, the first major crisis New York will face is the potential exodus of up to 1 million residents, the largest communist refugee wave in U.S. history during peacetime. The second major crisis comes from the notorious ISIS, Islamic State, which has publicly endorsed Mamdani and has already begun celebrating his victory, calling Mamdani the Manhattan Project and a jihad victory. Today is November 4th, Easter Time. I am Tang Jingyuan. Welcome to subscribe to our channel. Together, we will use an objective perspective, logic, and common sense to uncover the truth behind the news. Early this morning, Mamdani cast his vote in Queens and then declared to the media that New York stands at a historic turning point, that this is the day he has dreamed of for over a year, vowing to usher in a new political era, to bid farewell to the kind of politics that only tells people what they cannot do while actually being unwilling to do anything and to make the nation's most expensive city affordable for everyone. These words sound lofty and grandiose, very full and inspiring. But reality is far drier than these empty visions. Around 11:30 a.m. today, the well-known political betting platform Polymarket released its real-time prediction results, showing Mamdani leading his opponent Cuomo by a cliff-like 93% to 7% win probability. This also means that for Cuomo to defeat his opponent, a miracle would be required. Yet curiously, on this very platform, early this morning, multiple traders and several high-stakes gamblers placed large bets on Cuomo winning. If a miracle truly occurs, they stand to gain at least 12 times their investment or more. This actually reflects the trajectory of this globally watched election from yesterday to today. Mamdani's lead is steadily shrinking, Cuomo is steadily closing the gap, and the final result is likely to be quite close. This intense contest is even reflected in small maneuvers on the ballots. Today, voting residents exposed the ballot, revealing a very strange phenomenon in the candidate arrangement. Among the three main candidates, Mamdani, Cuomo, and Republican candidate Sliwa, Mamdani and Sliwa's names appear in the first row and appear twice, and even former Mayor Adams, who has withdrawn, still appears in the first row of candidates. Meanwhile, Cuomo, the only one who can compete with Mamdani, is placed in the lower right corner of the second row, a spot that is hard to notice without careful searching. In other words, all four anomalies are unfavorable to Cuomo and favorable to Mamdani, which can only be explained as pure coincidence. Elon Musk directly posted on X, calling it a scam. Only this time, the scam has landed on the head of Democratic heavyweight Cuomo. Sometimes history is just this bizarre. Real reality can be more dramatic than scripted theater. Let us briefly review the attitudes of the most representative heavyweight figures from the Republican and Democratic parties toward Mamdani on the eve of the vote. First, of course, is President Trump. Yesterday, he posted for the first time publicly supporting Cuomo, stating that if the communist candidate Mamdani wins the New York City mayoral election, he would be extremely unlikely to invest any federal funds in New York City beyond the minimum necessary allocations, because he does not want to waste money on a pointless disaster created by a communist. Trump said he would rather see an accomplished Democrat win than an inexperienced communist with a complete record of failure. He also warned that voting for Republican candidate Sliwa is equivalent to voting for Mamdani. Regardless of whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo, you have no choice. Trump's stance is clear to everyone. He is choosing the lesser of two evils. Compared to Mamdani's radical communist communal pot, Cuomo, though a Democrat, is far more rational and clear-headed. Therefore, Trump would rather support a political opponent, Cuomo, than back Sliwa, who certainly cannot win but would split Cuomo's votes. This is undoubtedly a wise and rational decision. This is what true vision looks like, because America's national interests outweigh partisan political differences and are greater than party interests. Coincidentally, another hugely influential figure, Elon Musk, also posted on X calling on his followers to vote for Cuomo, with reasoning similar to Trump's, and he too warned everyone voting for Sliwa that they are effectively voting for Mamdani. At this critical moment, ensuring New York does not fall into the hands of communist elements is the top priority. Using a concept very familiar to the Chinese community, New York falling to communists is an enemy-us contradiction, while falling to Democrat Cuomo is merely an internal contradiction. The statements from President Trump and Elon Musk actually convey a very key message. The Democratic Party has begun to split. The far-left faction led by Mamdani, AOC, and Bernie Sanders has pulled far away from the traditional Democratic establishment. They have begun to establish their own stronghold, building a more extreme far-left sphere of influence, and their platform has become more unabashedly copied from the homework that once proliferated in the Soviet Communist Party and the Chinese Communist Party. Everyone knows that Mamdani himself has no solid practical work experience or qualifications to manage a major city. His so-called political views are entirely copied from the communist communal pot playbook, including free public transit, free childcare, opening government-operated grocery stores for unified purchase and sale, supply, and marketing cooperatives, and freezing rents, government responsible for housing allocation, etc. The only surface difference from the CCP is the inability to use proletarian dictatorship violence to suppress opponents. However, Mamdani has cleverly switched to another method. He has publicly announced that once elected, he will release large numbers of prison inmates en masse, and these people will become his diehard supporters, serving as his invisible tools of violence. The stars are still the same stars. The playbook is still the same playbook. Only the vest has changed. Mamdani's extreme approach has even become unacceptable to Democratic heavyweights who support him. Just a week ago, New York Governor Kathy Hochul stood on stage with Mamdani, shouting to the crowd, "Tax the rich." But 4 days ago, Hochul told the media on camera, only 1.5% of New York's population contributes about 1/3 of our budget. That amount is enormous. What I worry about is that these are the people supporting our budget, yet they will be lost because of this. I cannot make up for this loss by raising middle-class taxes. I cannot let the middle class and those New Yorkers living in hardship bear such pain. In other words, Hochul clearly stated that she will not support increasing taxes on the rich, because the reasoning is simple. These rich people will leave New York as a result. The outcome of killing the rich to help the poor and draining the pond to catch fish is that everyone will end up poor together. In other words, Hochul essentially told the public that she will not approve Mamdani's tax increase plan. Mamdani's pile of free promises are nothing but castles in the air. Mamdani is just using these promises to deceive votes. Mamdani's competitor, former New York Governor Cuomo, similarly pointed this out. He said Mamdani claims to freeze rents and use government means to forcibly take over rent pricing power. But the New York mayor simply does not have such authority to freeze anyone's rent. This is complete nonsense. He also said Mamdani will open a government-operated grocery store in each borough of New York City. But for the vast New York, 5 grocery stores are a drop in the bucket. As for the so-called free public transit, This likewise does not depend on the mayor, but on state government authority. So in one sentence, Mamdani is using castles-in-the-air pie drawing to hoodwink the public into voting for him. All his promises fundamentally cannot change anyone's life. Even more, even Obama, who once strongly supported Mamdani, began to show a shift in attitude yesterday, refusing to publicly endorse Mamdani. Why? Why has Hochul, who once supported Mamdani, also begun to distance herself from him? The primary reason is that multiple polls show that if Mamdani is elected, New York may experience a large-scale exodus. According to a poll conducted by JL Partners for the Daily Mail, approximately 9%, about 765,000, of New York City residents say that if Mamdani is elected mayor, they will definitely move out. Another approximately 25%, about 2.12 million citizens, say they will consider moving out. Additionally, among high-income individuals earning over $250,000 annually, about 7% say they will definitely move out. By gender, men's willingness to relocate is higher than women's, 12% versus 7%. In the 50 to 64 age group, relocation willingness is particularly high, 12% definitely moving, 33% considering. By ethnicity, about 13% of whites and 11% of Asians say they will definitely move. Regionally, Staten Island stands out, with as high as 21% of residents saying they will definitely move out, and another 54% saying they will consider, totaling 75%. Manhattan and Brooklyn residents have relatively lower relocation willingness. What does this mean? If the 765,000 who say they will definitely move out actually leave, the scale would be equivalent to the entire population of Washington, D.C., or Seattle flooding out of New York City like a dam release. The polling agency representative stated, if the outflow scale approaches this number, the impact on New York City and even the entire U.S. economy will be seismic. For New York City, the direct consequences of large-scale population outflow are obvious: drastic tax revenue reduction, a cliff-like drop in the housing market, massive exodus of businesses, capital, and talent. Public service expenditures and revenues will become imbalanced in an extremely short time, potentially triggering violent shocks in financial markets. Very interestingly, Texas Governor Abbott was highly sensitive to this poll and immediately posted on X warning that after voting ends today, he will impose a 100% tariff on everyone moving from New York to Texas. This is, of course, just a joke, but his warning is very serious. He simultaneously called out to New Yorkers, "You need to take action yourselves to save your city. If Mamdani wins, move to New Jersey or Pennsylvania and turn those two states red. Texas and Florida are doing well now and don't need more people squeezing in." Today's election has another focus: the New Jersey gubernatorial race, long regarded as a deep blue state, may flip red, as the polls between the two parties' candidates are unprecedentedly close, differing by less than 2 percentage points, completely within the margin of error. Thus, New Jersey and New York City, two blue-red battles. The former is a contest between blue and Republican red. The latter is a contest between blue and communist red. The Democratic Party is in fact caught in a two-front war predicament. As a result, in these two places, voting stations in Harlem, New York City, and at least 7 counties in New Jersey all received false bomb threat alerts today, and most alerts in New Jersey occurred in Republican-dominant red counties. Mamdani reacted quickly, immediately pinning the blame on Trump, declaring that this must be viewed as part of the overall policy of the Trump administration. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt responded extremely swiftly, sharply criticizing Mamdani's remarks as completely irresponsible and without any factual basis. She said, "It is truly sad to see a leading figure on our ballot say such things about the president. The president clearly has nothing to do with these threats. Do not underestimate Mamdani's attack and accusation. Whether these bomb threats are self-directed and self-acted is not yet conclusive, but Mamdani's preemptive accusation that Trump orchestrated them is, of course, intended to portray himself as a victim of political violence. This has a broad audience base in deep blue New York and New Jersey, and this baseless accusation alone may bring him thousands or even more votes. Currently, according to Election Commission data, as of my live broadcast, approximately 1.5 million voters in New York City have registered to vote in this highly watched mayoral election. The number of voters has far exceeded the total for the entire year of 2021. On Election Day 2021, nearly 900,000 New York City citizens voted, and ultimately Mayor Eric Adams won the election. Unprecedented turnout means unprecedentedly fierce competition. Whether New York, this capital of the world, retains its blue tone or falls into red communism will be revealed in just over an hour. I will add an extra live session then, because no matter who wins, it is destined to become a major event recorded in New York history. We are continually witnessing unprecedented history. Remember to subscribe to our channel. Together we will watch the drama unfold in real time.